My name's Dave DeBow, founder of MoneyPartnerFormula.com, and this show is built for everyday real estate investors who are actively doing deals and looking to scale using other people's money. So if you're an active real estate investor and you want to get featured on this show to talk about your own real estate and capital raising experiences, then just go to daveinterviewsyou.com. Now let's get rolling with this episode, and remember to subscribe for daily interview content.
All right, guys, welcome back to Property Profits Podcast. I'm your host, Bryce Kaminsky, filling in for Dave Dubois. And have you ever wondered how to turn real estate flipping into a wealth building powerhouse? Today, my guest, Taylor DeRosa, a seasoned investor specializing in single family homes, is here to share his insights on scaling, appreciation, private lending, and remodeling tips to supercharge your real estate success. Taylor, welcome to the show. Great to have you here.
Thank you, Bryce. Happy to be here.
So the big question that always comes up every networking event, every time you meet someone new is like, how did you get started in real estate? What drew you in? What was it, a book, a seminar, a late night TV show?
No, you hear it all the time. I mean, it's, and I don't know the exact numbers, but it's some 80+% of millionaires made their wealth through real estate. And it's the easiest thing to gravitate towards when you hear something like that. So for years, I would say upwards of 5 years after I graduated from college, I studied it, I read books. And then I got to the point where I realized that I was just reading and doing all this theory work and not practicing anything. And I just dove right into it. Now, honestly, I would like to say by accident, I stumbled across real estate investing beyond that, because the first house that I ever lived in, I flipped and I made a pretty penny on. And I was like, oh, wow, it's actually fairly easy. And once you get to practice, then, you'll get your feet wet and you'll actually, boots on the ground, make the mistakes, get started. Practice over theory is how I'd say is how everybody should get started. And that's how my journey started. From there, took a little break, but then once I started attending networking events and seminars and whatnot, and got the motivation back behind me, I've accumulated a decent portfolio so far and made a good bit of flips in my spare time.
Nice. So how do you approach scaling your real estate portfolio while ensuring it's going to have a sustainable growth?
I would say, so that's a loaded question. I mean, there's everybody wants to reach the
Wants to
top
scale,
level.
right?
Yeah,
They
you want to get
scale
there as
quick.
quickly as possible, but you also want to get there as safely as possible. So I would say, while scaling, the safest method to do it would be to do it in areas that you have done research in, and that that these areas are going to be successful. Because I mean, if you look at certain neighborhoods in certain cities, and I'm not going to go ahead and get into the specifics and name them, but there's certain areas across the nation where people would invest in real estate, and within 10 years their whole portfolio value would be cut in half. And then there's other people in that same 10 years, their portfolio value has tripled and then some. And those are the areas that you want to focus on. That's where you're going to be able to scale safely and quickly, because you can ride that appreciation. You can pull out your equity and scale faster, because you can pull out something that you've gained in your asset that's not exactly tangible on day one. So that's how I would do it, and that's how I've been building my portfolio, because I'm buying in areas where I plan that in the next 5 to 10 years, my equity is going to double and then some, and I'll be able to pull that out and use that again to continue scaling, while in the meantime doing what I'm already doing to raise capital and funds for deals.
So appreciation's high up on your list of investment decision factors. Could you elaborate a little bit more on like the criteria that you use to kind of identify these appreciating neighborhoods?
Yeah, so it's the data is so wide. You could spend so long, just days looking into it. But really, what I like to use is honestly just going through the sale prices of homes in those areas for the last 5 to 10 years, and seeing where it's been trending from. There's so many things there's so many publicly available things that you can do to look into where a city is going. You can look on city council's websites. You can actually attend their meetings. You can check their because they live stream them now too, and you can go back and look at the videos. You can see the city planning. You can see where the city themselves is putting they're putting their money into, and you can see what businesses are coming into it. You can see how the school districts are growing. You can see how the hospitals are growing. You can see how the businesses are. That's actually a big thing right there. Businesses, jobs, and population growth is a big thing that drives appreciation in real estate, in my opinion. So if
Mhm.
you see like Amazon or Intel dropping a big new factory somewhere, I would definitely consider looking in that area to buy houses, because jobs drive the real, not only the real estate market but the rental market as well.
Mhm.
Because I'm doing both. It's not just flipping for me; it's building the portfolio and holding on to the assets to ride that appreciation. So that's something that I would look for.
Also, I noticed in the States, one of the biggest businesses is hospitals. When the hospital
Yeah,
moves in,
absolutely.
the hospital
There's the
moves in and they've got all that money, the doctors and nurses, they want to live right around it. And in
mhm.
Cleveland, I remember they moved into this one section. It was just like a war zone. And they flattened probably like 10 square blocks and built the Cleveland Clinic. And then these really bad, this is like really rough neighborhood all the way around. They just started knocking the houses down and putting in new ones. And the hospital was actually giving out financing for these nurses and doctors to go and buy the houses
Mhm.
around the hospital. So, the Amazons and those businesses. But what was interesting to me, because I'm from Canada, hospitals are not a business. We have like dilapidated,
Yeah.
like 1980s hospitals. It's not like the USSR or anything, but it's not a business. It's definitely not a business. When you're waiting like 17 hours for someone to look at your hand, it's not a business. That's not service. But in the States, they're running ads on the hockey game and the football. This thing brought to you by Cleveland Clinic, and then they're building another one. Like they're exporting
No,
the
they're
hospital
huge, and
stuff.
that's funny actually. I broke my leg skiing up there up in Golden last February, and so I got a taste of the Canadian healthcare system. It
What did
was
you
actually
think?
they were extremely efficient, and it was extremely cheap. I'll just say that.
Well, if you're Canadian, it's extremely cheap, except when you pay your tax bill at the end of the year. But that's a whole other story. So,
Yeah.
yeah, the
But no, the
hospitals are a
hospitals here,
business.
yeah, huge business. There's a lot of money in it for people. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of wealth that surrounds them, and there's a lot of money in them as well. I mean, they give huge stipends for travel nurses in the States. Just that's another market as well. Is the midterm rental? It's right there in between the short term rental like Airbnb
Hmm.
and the
Hmm.
long term rental for the people who lease for 12 months. These travel nurses get a big stipend from the hospitals to pay roughly double what the rent rate is, if not triple, for a furnished home, of course. But because it's only on a 3 to 6 month contract, so you'll have to deal with the turnover a little bit quicker than you would on a 12-month lease. But that's a whole other market in itself that I'm doing some research on, that I plan to put some houses into as well.
Yeah, that's, as attack on short-term rentals is, under attack, Airbnb under attack. The midterm business seems to be popping up. Now,
Hmm.
on the private lending side, what advice would you have to individuals that are looking to leverage private lending for their real estate investments?
Oh, my best advice would come from I guess my biggest frustration was that it doesn't happen overnight. You're not going to put a sign up and get $500,000 in 2 weeks to fund some deals. It doesn't happen like that. It comes with experience, it comes with mistakes, it comes with failure, and it comes with just a long list of properties that you have done. It's you might get one deal, get it done, and then you'll be able to take that and use that as evidence, or the beginning of your portfolio for other investors to look at, and proof of concept basically. So
Hmm.
for me, I'm still fresh in that side of the business as well, but I do have good contacts that I've gained trust with, and that trust me with their money now to do these projects, and that just grows, and it's organic. It'll grow from within itself. And the biggest piece of advice for that, on top of that, I would say, is to not be one of my mentors always told me this. His name is Jirius, and he always said not to be a secret agent in real estate investing. So
Yeah.
that's why I've made the pages that I've had, to put my stories out there so that I could prove to people that this is more than possible. And not only that, it's a public portfolio of the deals that I've done, and proof of concept for people. And now sometimes people reach out to me and they're like, "Hey, I would love to put some money into some of the assets that you're buying, and see what we can get out of it."
So what does the future look like for your business? Right now you've got a portfolio that's stabilized and you're are you flipping property or are you just holding property these days?
Well, I don't like to flip, because the only houses I really target as on the acquisition side are houses that are in greatly appreciating areas, and
Hmm.
just holding on to them for a couple of years is way more beneficial than flipping them for the short term profit. Not only that, there's no taxes to pay if I'm not flipping it. Great deductions, great write-offs on holding the properties. So that's that. So what if I am flipping? I'm flipping for capital. I'm flipping
Mm-hmm.
to give myself more funds to bridge purchases, or to pay interest towards my investors, or for startup costs on properties, because you're not going to buy a house and then not need money right away to do something to it. Usually for me, because I'm more in the value add industry, I'm not really buying retail or finished properties.
Mm-hmm. So when you're remodeling these things, the budgets can sometimes get out of control. How do you manage these budgets to maximize your returns on these properties that are, if you're doing like appreciating neighborhoods, are you finding them as distressed in these neighborhoods? Probably not.
No,
I
it's
don't know.
difficult. If the better areas are already, in good shape, they don't really have the worn down properties. So you try to find a couple streets over in the same area where it maybe the whole street doesn't, look the same as the one next to it. You basically and so I think it was Robert Kiyosaki who said this. I know he's very well known, but it's real estate is still a gamble, but it's a lot less of a gamble if you're well educated about it. So it's if you have to kind of beat the 5 to 10 year gentrification or growth period that some of these neighborhoods are experiencing right now if you want to ride that wave. And so you do have to buy the ugly houses in the ugly neighborhoods, because it's hard to find an ugly house in a pretty neighborhood. That doesn't really
Mhm.
happen often. But if you do, that's great. So for the value add situation, yeah, most of the time I'm buying properties on streets that are trending upwards, but not quite there yet.
Yeah, the worst, just a couple blocks out. And it's interesting, in the United States, you get a lot more like rough street, good neighborhood, whereas
Yeah,
with the interstate allowing you to kind of take the off ramp and miss the neighborhood you don't want to be in, and get to your house in this neighborhood. But in Canada, we
yeah,
don't have none of that. It's a gridlock, no interstate, so you have to drive through the ghetto if you really want to go, or
yeah.
around. You got to drive around it, so you can't really avoid it now. Dealing with challenges, could you share some experiences and insights on overcoming challenges such as, finding deals, or dealing with contractors, lenders, partners in the real estate business?
Yeah, those are challenges that don't go away. Finding deals,
Hmm.
they're always going to be out there. Sometimes they come through slower than others. Sometimes you have to be more active in pursuing the deals than when they come to you. It just depends on the market. Same with contractors. You're always going to have bad apples. You should always be building a vendor list and finding people that you can use for jobs. Every time I see a contractor or a truck or a van parked at a job site that's not mine, I'll take a picture of it, and if my number one falls through, I have number two, three, four, five, and six ready to call up, just to make sure that the project keeps going, because a project that sits still is not making you any money. So in fact,
Yeah,
it's
you got your
losing money.
burn rate every day. It's
Yeah,
costing you
exactly.
insurance, carry, heat,
Yep.
hydro, all that stuff.
The hard money, the private lending, that all costs money. It's interest only most of the time for that stuff. So you're just sitting there. The project's not getting worked on. You are just throwing money out the door.
The lender's like, yes, do nothing.
Yeah,
You need to pay me
exactly. But
my
I'm happy for them,
$95 a
because
day.
without them, I can't do the deal. So I'm happy they're making money. I'm happy everybody's making money, because if they're not happy on my team, then they're not going to do a good job anywhere. They're not going to come back and do it again. So I like to keep the lenders happy. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, they're happy when you pay the interest, right? That's the big business. Pay the
Yeah, of
interest, get
course.
another loan. So what's the secret sauce? What comes easy to you that other people find difficult to do?
Man, I would say it's the collaboration of it all. It's being the central force of everything, and making the deal happen. Some people are good at doing the labor, doing the work. Those,
Hmm.
I call on those people. Some people are good at finding the deals. That comes between wholesalers and other investors. I call on those people when I need the deals. Some people are good at underwriting the deals and have a big capital backing. Those are the people I call on for funding. And then there's partnerships along the way with all that as well. There's nothing in it that says that you should do this alone. So I love partnering up with people who have some sort of are connoisseurs in any corner of the industry, specifically the ones I just listed. Most of my partners are usually capital based now, because the first thing I did was perfect the construction side of the industry. So my knowledge is decent there. But I would say, yeah, for me, it is the art of the deal. That's where I do my best work. Pretty much making sure that the deal is underwritten well and that it'll be profitable for all parties involved.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of see myself as kind of a job creator for everybody, bringing all these people together, because I'm the guy who brings in the insurance, brings in the funding, brings in the attorneys, brings in the real estate agents, brings in the contractors, all of it. So I love making all that happen and putting all that together. That's my favorite part.
Yeah, job creation. Got to make
Yeah.
sure everyone is the tricky part of job creation is that sometimes, I mean, not even sometimes, every single time you do that, typically you're the last to be paid. So you better hope you did a good job, because there might not be enough left
Always.
when you get to the end of the deal.
Yeah, that's exactly how it is.
So what advice would you have to someone who's thinking about just getting started? They're like, I just want to get into this. I'm not sure.
It's just that, get started. There's no there's no perfect roadway. There's investors who have been doing this for 10 years who are still stumbling, and that's fine.
Mhm.
But 10 years down the road, if you're doing it right, I promise you those stumbles won't hurt at all anymore.
Yeah.
There's always, as just as much as there is a way to make money, there's a way to lose money. So it's I would say, well, let me put it this way. I would say the number one thing is get over the fear of anything. Get over the fear that people have. A lot of people like to make excuses or come up with things that they think could go wrong. You've got to get past that.
Hmm.
That'll just put you in a paralysis, and you'll make no moves at all. So I would
Yeah.
say get over the fear and then just do it. Do something. Or get involved. Partner up with somebody. You have to bring something to the table, though. No one's going to pay for the free ride.
Hmm.
So I would say go get some knowledge in something and get started. For me, that was construction. I went and I worked construction for residential construction for a contractor that did flips for investors. And once I figured out what they were doing, where they were spending their money, and how they were organizing the construction side of everything, I realized I could probably do this. So I went and seeked funding and did a couple deals, and it's really not as hard as people may think, or they set themselves back thinking, or coming up with excuses or fear of.
So let's talk about the whole funding side of thing. Right now, are you more of find the deal and then the money, or do you prefer to have your money kind of lined up and then go looking for deals?
Oh well, I was I bit off more than I can chew a couple of weeks ago. I did find a deal before I found the money, and almost lost some deposits on it, but I was able to come out with it. And now I don't think I will. I don't think I'll do that again, because that was not a good feeling. So I would definitely,
Nerve-wracking, eh? It's like
yeah.
riding the dragon.
I don't think I'll do that again. But like I said, as the deals happen, as people progress in their careers, if you're doing everything right and you're being authentic about it, the money will follow, the deals will follow. You got to be vocal about it. You've got to put yourself out there. You've got to network properly. You can't network within your own four walls. Well, you could, but
Hmm.
it'll be a little bit slower.
You could use
Um,
Zoom. Just
yeah,
kidding.
no, absolutely. There's
Yeah,
plenty
social
of
media
groups
and
out there.
Zoom. The real
Yeah,
estate investor who never left his apartment.
it's possible. I'm not going to say it's
You write the
impossible.
book. So you've got partners, you got money partners in these deals. How do you make sure that they're, especially, are you keeping the money? First question, are you keeping the money and the partners together on these 5-year deals, or are you refinancing them out? Are you carrying these things yourselves or together?
Well, I'll give a breakdown of a specific deal that pretty much mirrors itself with most of the single family homes that I do. I'll find a value add situation. I'll find a house that nobody's going to be able to buy with a conventional loan. I'll buy it with private money. I'll have a rehab budget, and I'll borrow that private money for anywhere from I try to do
10
less
to
than 6 months, but
15%, something like that.
yeah, so 10 to 15%. Sometimes they want a couple points up front at closing, because the lender's got to make money too. No one's
Mm-hmm.
going to fork out 200 grand for nothing.
Yeah.
Um, and what we'll do is we'll try to get it done as quickly as possible, obviously, so we don't have to fork over that interest only, because you're not paying down principal when you have these
No.
hard money loans. You're just paying interest every month. And we'll try to get that done as quickly as possible. Most of the time, it's in just under 6 months, but the
Mm-hmm.
contracts that we have with the lenders are for up to 12, just to give us a little bit of a cushion. And then our exit is usually to refinance to keep these properties. And when we're refinancing, you're receiving somewhere between 70 and 80% of the after repair value of the home, or the market value of the repaired home. And
Mm-hmm.
so what I try to do is make sure that each deal comes out well below that 70% mark, so that when I'm refinancing them, I'm able to pull out everything that I borrowed from my private lenders and then some on top of that at the closing table. So I can walk away with an income producing asset, as well as some tax-free debt on top of that to put into my next deal. So
Yeah.
that's the golden picture of a single family home flip that I keep as a rental. Does that always happen? No, I've had to leave money in some of them. Like you said earlier, construction budgets can get out of hand pretty
Overrun,
quickly.
and carrying can overrun, and suddenly you got to leave 10 or
Yep.
15,000 on the table. Now, in those cases, uh, how are you paying the rest of it out? How are you getting people out, and how do you let your investors know? Like, how do you do that sort of transparency with the partners that are investing with you to make sure that they're not feeling like, what's Taylor up to? What's going on with my money?
Yeah, like I said, you've got to be vocal in this, and at the same time, you've got to be authentic. I mean, you will work best with people that you can be friendly with. It's as simple as that. You don't have to be in business with anybody that you don't get along with. And some people find that you can make a lot of money with people you don't get along with, and that's fine too. But I find it best to work with people that you have some sort of synergy with, that you can
Mhm.
relate to, and that you're always on the same page. That way, I can communicate with these people extremely easily, and update them on anything that's going right or going wrong. But either way, definitely, I would recommend updating them regardless, because you got to keep people in the loop. It's the honesty that keeps them around. If I were to call my lender, you know, and or if I were to just not pay a lender and ignore phone calls for a couple months, I don't think he would ever lend to me again. But if something went wrong and I said, hey, I have to adjust this budget, day one right away, and let them know that, then there's a good chance that they would respect that and continue to work with me, even though we had to adjust the budget and the mortgage paperwork and stuff like that. So I would say communication is absolutely key in this industry, as it would be in any industry, but for here specifically, because there's a lot riding on the line for everybody, especially the
Mhm.
lenders, your partners, your contractors. It's and that's why I say that I feel like I do the best, and that's where the position I put myself in is to make sure that everything's running smoothly, everybody's on a schedule, and everybody's updated on exactly what's going on every day.
Yeah, you got to keep that transparency, when things don't go great. Um, I think it's the ducking, we had some situations when the interest rate changed that some people ended up owing some money in real estate, and
Mhm.
the people who were ducking the phone calls got it the worst, and the people who answered the phone got to negotiate the settlements. And so
Yeah,
if you're sideways in your deal and you're ducking your lenders, they didn't become lenders because they don't know what they're doing. They are
yeah.
lenders because they know what they're doing. So they'll figure it out, they'll find you, and they got the money to make sure that it sticks in court. So,
No, and
answer
they
the
they can
phone.
smell
And
it too. They're smart people as well. There's nothing you can get around here.
yeah, I mean the business, I guess it was a surprise to a lot of people when the interest rate changed quite drastically, and they wanted their money back because they're like, oh, I could lend it for more now. It's time to start calling in my debts. And suddenly the Ponzi schemes were appearing in Canada. So
Oh yeah, that's when the private money sector closed down for you guys a couple of years ago, right? Is that what you're
yeah,
talking about?
Olympia, we had some fraud happening. Let's call it some fraud.
Yeah.
Just look up just look up Saskatoon. That's where if you want, I'm not going to go further than that, but Saskatoon is
I'll,
where it
I'll give
went
my
down.
brother-in-law a call after this. He's a developer up there. I'm sure he knows everything
Oh,
about it.
he'll know exactly what the deal is. A lot of people lost a lot of money in that. So,
Yeah.
at least, with real estate as a lender, you can still just take the house back. And so a lot of
Yeah.
people just got to take the houses back, whatever condition they were in. At least it not like a stock where you lose everything. The house is
Well,
still there.
that's my biggest pitch to my private lenders when I go to them with each deal. I'm saying, hey, I need to borrow, X amount of dollars. Sounds like a lot of money, but if you look at it, it's only 60% of the value of this house when I'm done with it. So
Mhm.
you're going to be well secured in it. And I think you'd honestly want to take it from me, but that's not going to happen. But if you want to lend this to me, I can make you this much money in this amount of
Mhm.
time.
Yeah, if I mess up, you can have the house. So yeah, if people wanna, we could probably go for another hour, but I think the best thing to do is for people to reach out directly to you and really pick your brain. So if people want to connect with you, they want to find out more, what should they do? How do they find you?
Yeah, so I've got 2 pages right now on Facebook and Instagram, and everything that I do, everything real estate related, I post under those pages. They are Taylor Buys Properties. So if anybody needs any advice, if anybody needs to know where to start, if you're going through a rough situation in real estate and you just have a couple simple questions that I could help you walk through, just reach out to those pages. Follow along for some good tips and tricks in the industry as well, and to follow my journey personally on my road to making the millions in real estate.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I really appreciate you stopping by.
Yeah, thank you, Bryce. I appreciate it.
No problem. Until next time, guys, we'll catch you on the next episode.
Hey there, I really hope you enjoyed that episode. And as always, if you want to listen to more daily interview content, make sure you subscribe. And if you're an active real estate investor and you're doing deals and you'd like to get featured on this show, then just head over to daveinterviewyou.com. Now at moneypartnerformula.com, we help real estate investors to create a process for predictably getting capital so they can do more deals without relying on hard money lenders or the banks. We do this by building them a private capital marketing system. Now, if you want help turning yourself into a big money capital attraction machine, then book a call with our team to see how we can help. Just visit moneypartnerformula.com to find out more. All right, take care, and we'll see you on the next interview.